Alrighty. Welcome to your practice today. Welcome to your mat. Big breath in and out. Welcome to your body. Big breath in and out. Welcome to your mind. Let's settle in the present moment, doing our best to find roots through our hips and seat bones so we can feel stability and spaciousness. Take some of the biggest breaths of the day. Take really full, deep, long breaths in and out the nose. Fill it up and then empty it out. Cleansing ourselves a little bit of the day, of our weekend, and starting new, starting fresh in this moment, focusing on healing in the body, mind, and soul. And dedicating the next hour for you. Nothing else. Even things pertaining you, leave those be and just focus on the present and what's going on right now. Letting go of the past and the future. I promise you, you can think about those things in an hour. They'll still be there. And letting the breath flow. Meditation is a really simple practice, not much to it. So just sitting in that simplicity for a few more moments. And then we'll do a mindful exercise to help us calm down, de-stress, maybe let go of a little bit of anxiety if we're feeling any of that. And if not, it's still a really helpful practice. So we'll just breathe for several more breaths here, lengthening the spine, drawing the chin in slightly to reach the crown of the head upwards. Noticing the firmness of the floor supporting you completely. And tapping a little bit into that core strength at the center of your abdomen that's holding you up. Three more big breaths. Relax the skin of the face. Awesome. All right, this next exercise is called Psych-K. It's really simple. You're just going to cross your wrists and then interlace your fingers. And then you can rest your hands in your lap, or you can actually pull those hands up towards the heart. So either one of these might feel good. I'm going to rest my hands in my lap. And continue to find that meditative state, that center, that place of peace. And we'll say to ourselves quietly or out loud, I am well. So the subconscious mind doesn't understand clearly unless you're saying I, you're addressing yourself as I. So we'll just say, I am well a few times over and over again, and that's it. I am well. I am well. And maybe even starting to believe it. I am well. Three more breaths here, my friends. Okay, we can just release that bind, relaxing the arms, taking a cleansing breath in and out, and we'll wake up to some movement. So if you want to change the cross of your legs, we can do that at this point if you're feeling a little bit bound too tight after sitting for a while. And we're just going to take our right elbow to the outside of the left knee. See if you can bring your hands to the floor and take a deep twist and bow. And you can drop the head and let it get nice and heavy, or you could keep that chin slightly lifted. So we're all coming to our practice today with different things going on, just doing what's right for you. And then focus on pulling your belly button back. So pulling the navel towards the spine. The tendency is to collapse a little bit through the front of the pelvis. See if you can engage your core back. And just enjoy that deep stretch. Maybe some of us can even get our elbows to the floor. I'm certainly not one of those people. Okay, to come out of it, we'll walk our hands to the center and just keep on walking. Walk yourself on over to the other side. See if we can get our hands on the floor, wrists connected, and pull the belly button back. And take a few more breaths. And then walk your hands back to the center. And we can just take a little surrendering bow here, maybe coming to the elbows. Keeping a little bit of openness through the heart space, but you can still bow the head a little bit. And rooting through the seat bones and the hips. Wonderful. Let's roll on up. Roll up. Let the head be heavy. Walk yourself back up to a tall spine. Big breath in and out. And then we'll take our feet to the floor in front of us and hold on to the fronts of the knees. See if we can really lift our heart space here. And we'll wrap one arm around the legs. Take your other arm behind you. Gaze over the shoulder for a twist. Let that hand behind you press the heart tall. Inhale to center and twist the other way. Gazing. And inhale to center. We'll take a little bow, head to the knees. You may be able, if you wrap both your arms around your legs, you may be able to take your knees into the eye sockets. Maybe not. We might not be that warmed up or stretched out through the spine, but we'll see what's available. Just taking a little bow here. One more big breath in and out. And then coming back up out of this. Beautiful. Let's make our way into child's pose. Come on into child's pose. Give yourself a break here. I'm going to take my knees really wide open, my head on my forearms, but whatever feels good. Opening up through the hips now. You may even want to kind of wiggle your rib cage from side to side, opening up one hip and then the other, and then settling in for a few more breaths. Tabletop time. Coming onto the hands and knees. Knees hip width apart, wrists underneath the shoulders. And we can do a few cat-cows here to loosen up a little bit. Connect with the breath. Inhaling, chin up, belly down. Exhaling, chin down, belly up. One more. And then find a neutral spine somewhere completely in the middle. So it's that blend of cat and cow, that perfect union of our yin and yang principles. Belly lifts up, but the heart's soft between the upper arm bones. It's that yoking that is yoga. We're trying to find that center. Finding our balance. And we're going to take our right toes underneath us and press the right heel away from you. Stretch the back of the right leg a little bit. And then we'll hover the toes up off the floor. Rotate that ankle a few times. The trick here is to not lean into the left leg, which is going to happen. All right, and then we're just going to lift our right leg up a few times. We'll do that maybe 5 or 10, you decide, but just a lift. So 1, 2, 3, something like that. Really exercising that glute. Keep the belly lifted. Awesome. Great. And when you're done, just come back to table nice and slow. Big breath in and out. And then curl the left toes under, send the left heel back, hover the toes, rotate the foot. And do the same amount of little lifts on our other leg here. 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. I think I did 10. And then we'll come back to table nice and slow. Awesome. Let's take the back of our wrists to the floor to stretch those out, as they may have been taking on a little bit of pressure and weight. And if your wrists are feeling really tender, you can come up onto your fists. This is a really great option for people with sensitive wrists. So I'm going to come up onto my fists, actually. All right. Keeping that nice, strong core, we're going to take that right heel, send it back. And then we're going to bend our knee and see if you can lift that knee up a little bit, just displaying open of the hips. And we'll do that a few times. Drop the knee, lift the knee. Drop the knee, lift the knee. Drop the knee, lift the knee, and maybe counting and doing the same, or we'll wait, we'll finish here. And then we'll take our right foot back to the floor when you're done with that side and walk that right leg all the way over to the left, gaze over the left shoulder. So now we're stretching out that right hip and glute that we worked out. One more big breath. And then walk it back. Take the knee in. And we'll do that on the other leg. So we'll extend the left heel, really push it away from you, and then bend the knee. And then we'll lift that knee up and down a few times. This side's a little bit harder for me. Maybe trying to figure out what this looks like, what this feels like. Noticing a difference maybe on either side. Doing the same amount on each leg. And then when you're done, take the foot back down and walk it all the way to the opposite side of your mat and gaze over that shoulder. So sticky mat really helps this, but you can get a little bit of traction under those toes. A few more breaths. And back to center, back to tabletop. Let's take a child's pose. Awesome job. Coming down, taking a rest. Taking some big breaths in and out. Okay, and when you're ready, we'll come to our first downward facing dog. Lifting the hips up and back, stretching out through the backs of the legs, bending one knee and then the other knee. And pressing the shoulders towards the feet, lifting the belly. And then we'll step forward, or the hands meet the feet, whatever you want to do. Feet hip width apart, knees bent. Inhale, halfway lift. Lift the belly, so navel to spine. Draw the shoulder blades together behind you and press that heart forward. Exhale, slight bend in the knees. Forward fold, release the arms, let it go. This is that pose that's going to kind of melt some stress, unload our burdens off of our shoulders, and just hang. And then we'll bend the knees, reach the arms up, look up, upward salute. Exhale the hands down to your sides, just for a moment of mountain pose, Tadasana, rooting through our feet. Pulling the belly button back to the spine, the theme of our class today, a strong core. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your heart. And then exhale, step back, downward facing dog. Inhale, high plank pose, top of a push-up. Your choice to hit the deck or take knees, chest, chin. So if you want to take the knees to the floor, keep your hands right directly underneath the shoulders, and then place your heart on the floor with your hips up, chin on the floor. Very weird, awkward pose, but it feels pretty good. Our heart holds some weight, which it normally doesn't do. And then we'll just slink our way down. Take a moment on the floor. Maybe our hands go towards the feet. We take a cheek. Maybe wiggle those hips from side to side. Cleansing breath in and out. And then maybe taking our other cheek. And then hands to the floor. Press the heart up, cobra. And exhale, child's pose. Maybe the knees come together this time in child's pose. Taking a bow. All right, let's do that one more time. One more simple vinyasa flow. Taking the hips up and back in downward facing dog. Lifting the belly. Step forward to the front of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees, reach the arms up, look up, upward salute. Exhale, Tadasana, mountain pose, standing tall. Let the blood flow. There might be a rush. Breathe through it. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step back, maybe with your non-dominant foot, downward facing dog. Inhale, high plank pose. And if you want to do knees, chest, chin again, feel free. And maybe we chaturanga, doing a push up to the floor. Nice and strong. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, child's pose. Awesome job. Let's catch up with the present. Let's catch up with our breath. Maybe rotate those wrists around if they're feeling it. Okay, back to downward facing dog. Bring the toes to touch so we have a nice strong base. For three-legged dog, we'll lift the right heel away from you. See if you can really press it away, hips square. And then we're going to lift the hip up and bend the knee for wild thing. And then we're going to come back to three-legged dog. Straighten the right knee, drop the right hip. Let's do that 3 or 5 times, whatever you want to do. Opening, closing. Opening, closing. Wild thing, three-legged dog. All right, now step the right foot forward and slowly bring your hands to the front knee for high lunge. If you're feeling wobbly, inch your right foot to the right edge of your mat. That's going to strengthen this posture. Pull that belly button back. And then when you're ready, bring your hands to your heart. Belly back. Big stretch through the left thigh. And you can always drop the left knee behind you if this is too much. So that's always an option. Yeah, maybe that's what we should be doing towards the end of the day here, depending on how we feel. And then we'll take the left elbow to the outside of the right knee for a big twist. See if you can get your thumbs to the center of your chest and gaze upwards. We'll hold for one more big breath. Inhale to come out of it. Inhale out of it. And then exhale, take your hands to the floor. We'll step back to a three-legged dog. So keep that foot hovering and lengthen it back. And then we're going to do a vinyasa. You can take your foot to the floor or you can leave it hovering. So that's high plank pose with a hovering foot. And then lowering. And then inhaling up to our up dog. Relaxing both feet and child's pose. Whew, I told you we were going to work out a little bit. We won't do much more of this, I promise. Take a few breaths, catching up, relaxing. We'll do that on the other leg after we rest for a moment. And then we'll slow down. Big breaths in and out. Let's take 3 more breaths here. Big breath, really big, in and out. And when you're ready, we'll come to down dog. We'll just do that one more time on the other leg. We can do it. I can do it. And when you're ready, lift the left heel. 3-legged dog. The hips are like 2 headlights pointed down. And then lift the hip, bend the knee, wild thing. And then 3-legged dog, wild thing. 3-legged dog, last one, wild thing. 3-legged dog. Great. Step the left foot forward. Maybe inch it to the left. Maybe the right foot goes to the right. And we'll take our hands up to that front leg. And maybe we drop that back knee. Taking low lunge. And then we'll bring our hands to our heart and take that twist when you're ready. Elbow to the outside of the knee. See if you can get your thumbs to the center of your chest. Lift the belly. Navel to the spine. One more big breath in and out. And then inhale up. Maybe falling. And exhale, step back, downward facing. Or nope, step back, down dog, but 3-legged dog. So kick that heel back up. And then we'll lower ourselves just using our right leg. And then upward facing dog and child's pose. Okay, hard part's over. Awesome job. Give yourself a pat on the back. And rest here. I'm gonna do knees in. You could do knees out. You could do hands towards the feet or up front. Up to you. Maybe opening and closing those fingers a few times. Big breaths in and out. A few more breaths here. All right, and when you're ready, we'll just sit back on those heels for hero's pose. I gotta drink something after that. Finding a tall spine. And we'll interlace our fingers behind our back. So just lift those hands up and away, lift the chin, big heart opener. And we'll hold for one more big breath, navel to spine. Exhale, release. Slide off of your feet and come onto the right hip. So slide off onto the right, and then we're just going to reach our right hand up and over for a little side stretch. Maybe gazing upwards. Okay, and then back to hero's pose on both heels. Maybe we want to rotate the head a few times now, if that feels useful to you. Maybe you want to do the arm shoulder stretch again. And then we'll slide onto our other hip, slide on off. And we'll take the left arm the opposite direction from the hip and maybe gaze up. Belly button back. And then hand down and come back to hero's pose. Stretching out the ankles for one more breath here. Great. Okay, we're gonna do modified pigeon. So slide onto your left hip first. Take your right knee back and then your left foot forward. We're gonna try our best to make our left leg into a right angle. And from here, the right leg can be relaxed behind you. And we'll just take our fold forward. And if this is really available to you and you're feeling super flexible, you can lift that right hip forward and straighten the back leg for full pigeon. But modified pigeon is such a good pose, and I don't think we do it enough. So we'll take a really nice, big, gentle modified pigeon. This is your time to relax, catch up with any intentions you may have set, catch up with your breath, and then settle into a little bit more of a restorative session here, slowing things down. You can always take your hand to hold your head. If your head feels like it's really far away and hanging too much. We'll stay for several more breaths, so continue to relax and let go. Let the breath flow in and out the nose, ceaseless breath. Keep it moving. Maybe we find a little bit more room to surrender. Maybe we can reach our arms forward or lower our head to our arms. Maybe there's a little bit more room to give. Let's take 7 more breaths. And slowly press the floor away to come on back up. And we'll take a moment to just press the floor away from us, lifting our heart. You'll get a stretch through the right hip flexor. And to come out of it, we'll bring that right knee forward a little bit and center ourselves at the edge of our mat. And then we're going to do a straddle. So widen our legs as far as they'll go. And lead with your heart as you fold forward, keeping a nice tall and lifted spine. And we'll take that really big fold forward. And then you can relax the feet so that they're rolling open behind you. And continue to breathe deeply and slowly in and out your nose. A few more breaths here. All right, let's take 7 more breaths. And we'll press the floor away from us to come out of it. And take a moment to just sit here with our legs open, maybe noticing some core strength, noticing ourselves being held up with a tall spine. And then we'll take our right foot in, pull the left knee in and back a little bit, and we'll scooch our way into our modified pigeon. The goal is to have a nice right angle with our right leg. And once again, if you're feeling really limber, you may be able to pull that left hip forward, maintaining this angle of the knee. But either way, we'll lead with our heart to take a nice fold forward. Finding what feels good, finding some props nearby for support. And we get to stay here for a lengthy period of time, so settling in. And let it go. Anything you're holding on to, wherever there's tension, let it thaw, let it melt. As we stay here a little bit longer, we might find some room to deepen our bend, to deepen our bow. We'll take a few more breaths. Let's do 7 more breaths. Last breath in and out, real full and deep. And we'll slowly press ourselves up to sit tall. And keep pressing that floor away from you for a few breaths to stretch out the left hip flexor. Maybe even looking upwards. And then we'll sit on that right hip, bring that left knee forward, and we'll make our way onto our back, scooching down. And maybe we're going to do snail. So I always have a blanket ready, have a blanket open for our spine and our neck. But first we'll just find a comfy spot on the floor. Taking some breaths, enjoying the support that the floor offers us. Letting that breath flow. Nice and deep. And then we can drop our knees from left to right a few times. Windshield wiping those shins. And options for snail pose, if we can't get our hips all the way up, we can hug our knees into our chest and just hold this, because this is so helpful for digestion and just lengthening through the tailbone, the low back. So it's still really helpful. And then if we're up for it, if you are able, we'll lift our hips up for snail pose. You can take your hands to your low back. They can come to the floor, maybe grabbing your mat, the edges of your mat. That's always a nice option. You could rest your knees on your head. It's really just hanging out here. Filling up our body with breath as much as we can. We'll take a few more breaths. Whenever you're ready to come down, of course, just roll on down nice and slow. All right, slowly coming down when you're ready. Feet to the floor, knees up. Take a big breath in and out. It's a big cleansing breath. Pick your hips up and scoop that tailbone underneath you, and then wiggle your shoulders further away from the hips, creating a really tall and long spine. And then we'll walk our feet over to the left and drop the knees, gaze over the right shoulder, reclining spinal twist. Filling up the belly and the low back with breath. The lower leg supports the top leg, and they just kind of rest with each other. Arms are heavy, shoulders are heavy. We'll take 7 more breaths. Okay, walk the feet back to center. Pick the hips up, scoop them under, and then walk your feet all the way over to the right. Drop your knees to the right and gaze over the left shoulder. Finding a lot of surrender here, a lot of letting go. Shoulders get heavy, legs are heavy. And we send our breath down into the belly and the low back. If you breathe really big into the low back, you'll feel a deeper stretch happen. You'll feel some tension and some pulling through the low back. Breathe into that. It's also great. It means we're using our diaphragm to breathe, which is how we should always be breathing. Okay, we'll take 7 more breaths. And coming back to center. Awesome job. Ooh, we'll windshield wipe those knees and shins a few times, massaging our glutes and our low back. And we'll take Shavasana, last pose. So whatever you need to get comfortable, blankets, sweaters. If you want to do any last minute pose, happy baby might feel good. Maybe the soles of the feet come together for reclining back angle. Whatever floats your boat. But we'll relax in Shavasana corpse pose. The ankles flop open. The palms flop open. And we melt into this pose, letting all the hard work we did today absorb into our muscles and our memory. Holding on to this stillness, the peace and the quiet. Watching the breath flow. Letting the breath flow. Let yourself get a little heavier, denser as you weigh into the floor. And at the same time, let yourself get lighter and float. So two opposing ideas, but finding that union, finding the yoking of those two ideas, those two principles. Letting the skin of the face be soft. Eyelids nice and gently closed. And maybe noticing texture, light, and color behind the eyelids. We get to enjoy this a little bit longer. Continue to hold on to this peaceful, tranquil state. Letting the breath flow peacefully, gracefully, and naturally. When you're ready, we'll come to the sleeping position. Resting your head on your arm. And we'll come to a seated position for the last few moments of class to just feel out the spine. Notice how our roots feel. Noticing our connection through the seat bones, the tailbone into the earth. Noticing the support of our core and the lengthening of the crown of our head for a tall spine. And lastly, noticing our breath and how it flows. Hopefully with a clear mind at the end of class here. And bowing our heads in gratitude. Namaste.